businesses. Lots of conversation about the New York Football Giants, where CeCe played and won a Super Bowl. No big deal. And who their next head coach could be. So they fire Brian Daboll. Adam Schefter comes on our show yesterday after 8 a.m. Eastern, and listen back to the podcast. Because when he gave us this, I think all of us had our mind racing as to what does he mean? And he may not have meant anyone specific, but conceptually, what Adam said triggered a lot of thoughts. Take a listen.
I think you've got to go bigger, bolder, creative, and think of names that people wouldn't even think of, whoever that may be. The New York Giants, you're in the New York market. You've got great young talent. Who do you want? Who do you view as the best coaches in football? Who do you view as those guys? And somehow I want to go see if I can go find a way to get these guys, one of these guys, in as my head coach. I'm letting my imagination run wild and coming up with every conceivable candidate, from high school to the pros, from guys who are unemployed to guys who are employed, all over the board. And let's see where that goes.
Well, Mike Greenberg yesterday on Get Up took that advice and came up with this suggestion a day ago.
You've got Malik Neighbors, you've got Jackson Dart, you've got Abdul Carter, and a bunch of other good players. Yeah. That's going to be the most desirable job for coaches out there, and I'm just going to throw a name into the conversation. Mike Tomlin. If Mike Tomlin and the Steelers at the end of the season decided it's time for an amicable parting, that feels like it would be a perfect spot.
Okay. Mike Tomlin to the Giants.
You think Mike Tomlin wants to sign up to work with Joe Schoen?
Oh. I would think that Mike Tomlin is accomplished enough, good enough, and creative enough to bring in his own people at literally every job within the organization, from groundskeeper, not that that's a bad job, to general manager.
So what we're saying is that Joe Schoen is a placeholder contingent on the next head coach that the Giants ownership lands on being amenable to working with Joe Schoen.
Well, Schefter yesterday said that that's something that he was going to be keeping an eye on, that if the search was inhibited in any way by Joe Schoen being part of the equation, that he wonders how that will play out.
But if it's even a possibility, if it's even on the board that Joe Schoen could be an impediment to the Giants' next head coaching hire, why the hell is he still there?
That is the question I think a lot of people are asking.
That makes no sense to me. I don't understand it. I feel like the general manager is just as culpable in the Giants' mediocrity over the last 3 years as Brian Daboll was. Now, the optics with Daboll look a lot worse this year because of what's been happening with Jackson Dart, all of the injuries, Brian Daboll insisting on having designed quarterback runs, Brian Daboll running in the blue medical tent on the Thursday night game against the Philadelphia Eagles and subsequently being fined by the league and the organization being fined because of that action. Him being so desert thirsty for Dart to succeed because he knows that his job security is tied to it. It looked bad this year. But all that being said, I don't know that it was worse than what we got from Joe Schoen 2 years ago with offseason Hard Knocks and him yucking it up with all of the other executives in there laughing at the notion that a $13 million a year running back could be the identity of the team. I'm sorry. Both men have dirty hands when it comes to this, and I don't know how one is bearing the brunt of it while the other continues to keep his job.
And to your point, if we're going optics for optics, that Saquon thing will live on forever because of Hard Knocks. And then he goes down the road and wins a Super Bowl with the Eagles, which is exactly what Giants ownership was afraid of. And he was the consummate teammate and a huge piece of that puzzle. He had an unbelievable season. And then this year, you have the other guy that you cast off in Daniel Jones doing amazing things in Indy. So while it was bad for Brian Daboll this year, if we are comparing optics, I do not know how Joe Schoen is not head and shoulders worse than whatever we have from Brian Daboll.
And then the optics of Joe Schoen in the war room telling Brian Daboll that you got your guy, seemingly admitting that Brian Daboll was responsible for the Giants moving up in the first round to draft Jackson Dart. So the guy that is most responsible for Jackson Dart being a New York Giant is now unemployed because you want to hold him accountable for what you've seen over the last 3 years.
We talked about this yesterday, too. You said maybe because of circumstances within the organization and within ownership that they wanted some modicum of continuity moving forward. They trust Joe Schoen, which is why he's still there. But why do you trust him? I understand that they have some good young talent that he's acquired. But again, the biggest piece of that puzzle is Jackson Dart, who seemingly is attributed to Brian Daboll, who you just fired. And if you're acknowledging that this organization is in a bad place and you need to turn the page, why are you bringing back anyone responsible for building it up or tearing it down to the place that it is? And I don't want anybody to lose their job, but if you're saying Brian Daboll did such a poor job that he should be out of here and that you want to move on, then I think it needs to be a clean sweep. And I'll be interested to see, as Adam alluded to yesterday, if having Joe Schoen now be the guy who's in charge, the guy who's going to lead this search, disqualifies them from having certain conversations with coaches that they would want to bring in.
Which would then disqualify him from employment.
Would it?
If Mike Tomlin says, you know, it's time for me to move on. Obviously, you know, I want the Rooneys and the Maras to be involved in this conversation together because of the family relationship between the two, and I want this to be cordial and kind, and I want everybody to be happy. If Mike Tomlin says that and the Rooneys say to the Maras, it's time, you can talk to him, we're okay with that, you're going to keep someone. If Mike Tomlin wants to be your coach and he wants to get rid of Jackson Dart, trade Jackson Dart. I don't care who the hell what he says. If you can sign up for Mike Tomlin, if he wants you to sell the team, sell the team. I don't care what it is. It's Mike Tomlin. The Steelers could be sick of not winning playoff games. The Giants are sick of not making the playoffs. There's a big difference there. And so if you could get Mike Tomlin, you do whatever it takes to get Mike Tomlin. If Joe Schoen is the impediment to getting Mike Tomlin, he's gone. He should fire himself. He said, I want to be a good general manager. I'm going to fire myself. What other job in the organization can I have here? Like, that's insane if that keeps them from that guy. All right, a lot more on that, obviously, is this is what Adam has encouraged, right? Adam Schefter has encouraged, hey, throw out the big name because that's where the Giants should be looking. Mike Tomlin and whoever else you want to throw out there. But coming up, why Michelle Smallman is still in love. But I must tell you about ESPN Bet. First, from kickoff to cash out, ESPN Bet has the tools you need to score more on game days. Be smarter with stats at your fingertips. Get personalized parlays built just for you. And with your fantasy team synced right in the app, you can back your squad. Right now, new customers get $100 in bonus bets when you bet $10.
How would you assess Aaron's performance tonight? How would you? Next.
Wonder what brave soul asked the question after that. Well, not exactly a ringing endorsement Aaron Rodgers wants to hear, but can you blame Mike Tomlin? Sunday's 25-10 loss to the Chargers was an all-time bad performance for the future Hall of Famer. 2 INTs, sacked for a safety, completing a 5-season low 52% of his passes. Even Rodgers later admitted a lot of stuff wasn't working. You think? Well, some thought Tomlin may have had real cause for concern over Rodgers' play. Today, Tomlin, outlining the Steelers' issues on O, put the kibosh on that.
We haven't done a good enough job of putting others other than DK in position to win and win big, and they haven't won big enough. We got to do a better job there. Sunday night was what it was, but I have no long-term reservations about his ability to play the position and play the position at a high level for us.
There you have it. Meanwhile, Travis Hunter is going to miss the remainder of his season after undergoing right knee surgery. The Jaguars rookie sustained a non-contact injury while playing defense in practice, was put on IR. His last game was his best, caught 8 passes for 104 yards in a Week 7 loss to the Rams. He's expected to make a return to full football activities within 6 months. And in New York, now that Brian Daboll's out with Big Blue, could Bill Belichick be in? The 6-time Super Bowl winner won 2 more as a defensive coordinator with the Giants. His first year at UNC has been kind of up and down, 4-5 record, but they have won 2 straight. Regardless, Belichick was asked about the Giants' vacancy today, and he sounded, well, Belichickian.
I mean, I've been asked about it from time to time, but yeah, look, I've been down this road before. I'm focused on Wake Forest. That's it. And that's my commitment to this team. And next week it'll be to our next opponent and so forth. But, you know, I'm here to do the best I can for this team.